What up, YouTube? One day you gonna slap the shit out of somebody sitting here, bro. I am your host, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. Back in here with yet one more video. What up, yo? Chief. What's up, bro? Welcome, bro. Welcome. All right, so listen, another subscriber, very loyal subscriber. Shout out to you, Shao Khan, Shoulder Charge. We're going to do a reaction video to what he suggested. The old script is trash, MTandR video, and it's by Happy Humble Hermit. I am not familiar with this content creator, but I feel like it's going to be an interesting discussion. You guys have seen in a couple of last videos that I have done, I have introduced some of my friends to some of this red pill content, MTandR stuff, and you get varying degrees of reaction. So, you know, I wanted to bring Chief back over here just so he can see and understand what this internet movement is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the hell this is, actually.
Are you familiar with red pill?
I am not. I'm not familiar with it. It sounds like I'll wake up in 2 days and butt naked in a chicken coop after taking.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
No, but so you remember the Matrix?
Okay.
Like
so
Morpheus. Yeah, you remember when Morpheus gave Neo the choice of the red or the blue pill?
Right.
And he took the red pill.
Okay.
And when he took the red pill, he was able to get outside of the Matrix, outside of the simulation.
So that was a very strong drug.
Sure.
Okay.
But he took it, and it was more like a metaphor of getting outside of the simulation.
Okay.
Right? So if he took the blue pill, he would have stayed in it and just would have lived his life not knowing of the higher meaning or the higher power or the higher calling of what it is that he was living in. You could use the word red pill for a lot of different stuff, but in the context of this video, they're talking about dating, relationships, human nature, male nature, female nature, right? So not accepting what society has told us about all of those things, but seeing what makes the most sense for yourself.
Okay.
So very easy concept, but we'll play the video and we'll go in and see how you feel about it.
Let's go for it.
All right. Without further ado, let's hop right in it.
Across all cultures, men are told the same thing from childhood. Man up, go to work, provide and enjoy a wife and family. This basic script has sustained men through difficult times and helped them overcome any doubts they may have had in themselves or in the path that was chosen for them. Men go along with this script because it is spread at every level by his family, his friends, the media, the education system, cultural norms, and any attempt to stray from this path or even offer criticism against it brings the typical shaming tactics that we are all so familiar with. Shaming tactics are thrown against a man's masculinity, his intelligence, his sanity, and even his sexuality. They must use shaming tactics and keep him from questioning, because as soon as he is allowed to address the concerns he has with the established script, the worldwide dominant narrative of male sacrifice, the whole thing falls apart. Once you see the script for what it is, an amateur attempt at keeping you tied down to society because it needs you more than you need it, then you can never look at the world the same way again. You start to see all the traps that were laid out to
Real quick, I heard you say something.
Yeah, that's deep. That was kind of deep.
Yeah. So when he says shaming tactics, do you know like what he's referring to?
Yeah.
It's hit. I get hit with it from time to time. One of the shaming tactics that I hear from time to time is, "How old are you now? You still not married?"
Yeah.
You know,
like to conform to something that society has put out there. But I mean, look at it, like, hey, being married and having kids is a great thing, but I think that everything is in time. Like, your time is your time. Like, what God has for you is for you, as opposed to we seeing people rush into it based off of other norms that they're supposed to have, and 2-3 years later they're divorced. So I don't want that to be me.
Right. Me either. Right. So, okay. Well, it seems like you're going to be very receptive to this information.
Yeah, let's see.
Cool.
Snare you, and a wave of cynicism will wash over you as you understand that you weren't a person in the eyes of society and everyone who spouted the old script. You were merely a utility that they wanted to use for their own gains. Understanding how each party would have benefited from your servitude is important to being able to see all the traps set out for you. A hunter must remain vigilant or he becomes the prey. Your friends bought into the script and fed you the lie because they need you to play along with their petty life plans. If you are enjoying the fruits of freedom, free of the stress and self-doubt that they bring into their own lives, then you challenge all of the choices they have made that led them to where they are. Jealousy is just as present in men as it is in women, and just as ugly. People avoid challenges as much as they can, so to remain their friends, you have to conform by actually sinking to their levels or by holding your tongue. Your silence will eventually not be enough because they will see the tangible positive benefits that going MTOW gives you and resent you for it. Your family fed you the lies because they needed you to further the family line and to produce grandchildren for them. Understanding female nature negates the meaning of family trees. How many branches on that family tree do you think were the products of adultery and paternity fraud? Especially in older times, when men could only distinguish paternity fraud with the naked eye. Women are fickle creatures, moving with their emotions as trees move with the wind. Any foundations built atop a woman are built on sand, unreliable at best and hazardous at worst. Women have absolute control over the family tree, which means the integrity of it and the quality of it are tied to the whims of the woman for each branch. You may be the most alpha pussy slayer of your generation, but one of your ancestors was guaranteed to be a simp, or maybe just a good guy who was cheated on without his knowledge. Understanding your lineage is important because great men got us to this point in history, but it goes beyond blood. Worry about what deeds you are doing in your lifetime, not what your potential children or your past ancestors did with your name. Taking a step back and thinking with your brain and not being guided by your reproductive instincts is one of the greatest advantages you have being a man. Women must fulfill their reproductive programming. They are hardwired to follow it at any cost. The consequences of not following their base instincts and fighting it with the help of social engineering leads them to the insanity that we are being subjected to on a daily basis. Society forced the old script down your throat because it cannot exist in its current form without it. Without men being in a state of servitude, cities would be on fire. The corporations have profited from your hopes and miseries as they force their goods on you to buy for their made-up holidays.
Just real quick, I see you shaking your head over there. One of the themes that I kept thinking of when he was talking right there is this idea of conformity, right? Like he was saying that, we conform to push the script forward, but in fact, societies would tumble if it wasn't for us. Anything to say, based off your initial kind of thinking about all of this stuff that you're hearing right now?
Yeah, we conform a lot to what society thinks we should be. I think, she spoke a lot about, women when it comes to the family tree and they control what it looks like and they're reproductive and they'll do it no matter what the cost is. Like now you're seeing women at 50 years old having kids because they froze their eggs or doing an in vitro and those type of things. And I get that, to each his own, which is a great thing, bringing a child into life, that's a gift from God. But, they're conforming to what society thinks they have to do and doing whatever they have to do to get it done. So,
yeah, I think one of the things that he was saying is, if we ignore our nature to reproduce, right, then we can focus on other things, right? Yeah. But he was saying that women generally cannot do that, like notwithstanding the in vitro and all the technology that can go into freezing eggs or what have you, that there's generally a finite time.
For sure.
So I think like over 34, 35 years old is what's known as like a geriatric pregnancy if they then become pregnant at that time. But he's saying that we are manipulated into conforming to push society forward. Any thoughts regarding what that is?
When I hear that, I think of there's a trend that takes place, and there's always been a trend. Like, for example, like if people who are my parents' age, when they went to college, it was always this running joke that women went to college to get their MRS degree. They didn't go to school to get a degree. They went to school to get married, find a husband, get married. And now our generation, so millennials, and now you have the Gen Z folks coming up now. It's like they're perpetuating a trend that society's saying they have to do in order to get there. Like we were just talking a minute ago about people moving in to a significant other's home before marriage. That's a trend that's taking place, and it's kind of a countdown on that when that happens. It's typically out there's going to be a ring that happens in 6 months or a baby that pops up in 6 months, and it's kind of a trend or a societal thing that's taking place. It's not in the kind of the circle of life that took place in our parents' generation, but it's kind of what's going on now.
Right. And I think it's important that, when you consider this this hamster wheel of life that you might be living in, right? You take a red pill, which gets you outside of that, so you can look down in on it and be like, you know what, maybe her moving in with me is not the best situation. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, I need to follow the trajectory set forth for me and expect at the end of that, I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that there's an added pressure on that, and it's typically from the woman, because I don't know many men that want the woman to move in at that point in time, but the women we got to move forward or we got to move apart. So that adds a pressure on what do we do next? What are we doing here in this now moment?
It's that ultimatum.
Yeah, it's an ultimatum pretty much. And the guy and for 100% loves that woman and wants to be with her, but she's adding this extra pressure on hey, I got to get here right now. Give me the keys. I need half of this closet or the whole thing. The whole 9 yards. And now it's what are we doing now? Then that's when, a shift might come, and then there could be problems going on there, or there could be forward moving in process, meaning marriage and or a kid, but at the same time, what happens 3 years from now? What happens 5 years from now? It could be Skittles and rainbows, or it could be bullets and bombs,
Right. No, it could be. Now, one thing I didn't tell you about earlier is this acronym MTandR. You don't know what that stands for, right?
No, but I feel like you just cursed at me in Swahili or something.
So MTandR is an acronym that stands for Men Go Their Own Way. So he hasn't quite gotten to it yet, but in hearing the beginning of the video, I think what he's going to get to in the end of the video is essentially knowing all of this, knowing the hamster wheel of life. What if you get outside of the box and you go your own way? You not focus on woman at all.
When you say the box, you mean the box or
no,
figurative box?
Not outside of the box of that society has carved for us.
Okay.
Right, outside of the box that movies have carved for us, or your parents influencing how you make decisions because of whatever mistakes that they made in their past, and they want to pass that pressure on to you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but it's thinking towards what are the things that actually make me happy, right? And for example, I was talking to a friend about this earlier about the benefits and the cons of having children, right? You have children, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, it's a gift from God, but you also got to understand now, because you've had children, you just set your retirement back another 15 to 20 years.
For sure.
Because those are expensive things.
Yeah, those expensive, right?
Right. So, all right, but I don't want to take too much from the video. Let's go back into it.
They use cheap marketing tactics that women fall for to indoctrinate them into a trance of endless consumerism until there is no hope for lasting satisfaction. Only a temporary respite before the next product is released. If you've been MGTOW long enough, you can look over the old script and maybe even laugh as you see what kept you down for so long. This script will always exist, no matter how much things change in the future. MGTOW isn't about saving all men. It's about helping the ones who can save themselves. The script is constructed in such a way that only the men who seriously challenge it will be able to see through it. Overcoming biology, cultural conditioning, and false ideas of romanticism is a godly feat, so don't feel disappointed in those who can't throw away the script. You and I were in a similar position to those on the plantation once. Maybe not in the same way, but we all had to learn to see through the lies and question the narrative on our own first. Shaming language is designed to keep men from thinking about the script they've been given. Having to mentally defend your sexuality, life purpose, masculinity, and sanity is all very draining. Men are logical creatures after all. If a man sees that one path leads to endless criticism and the other to acceptance, can you really blame him for sticking to the tried and true formula? Only the curious and the broken, who have nothing else to lose, will venture into the unknown. Once you realize that the people trying to shame you have not had an original thought influence their own script that they operate from, you can understand that it isn't directed from them personally, but rather the collective they operate from.
You would say something, bro? I didn't like that plantation reference.
Yeah, that plantation reference. That was the first problem. Like, he sounds like a white guy. First of all, he is a white guy. We saw his picture, so they should be making a plantation reference first and foremost. But no, he made some valid points there about a male and what's the acronym again?
MTandR.
MTandR. Like, a lot of times, folks are like, if you have friends who are like your age and they have like they're married with kids and that was the path they chose, what the case may be, but now there's something wrong with you because you haven't done that. But if you look at maybe differences in the two of you, well, maybe you're 3 levels higher than him in your career because you focus more on career than family, and that and that's, you were comfortable with that. Right. That's a decision you made as a man or as a person to actually move forward in that route, and that decision that they made was their decision, and there wasn't a right or wrong in there. That was God's plan for them, and this is your plan. And this is God's plan for you. Doesn't mean you're not going to get there where he's at with a family and kids if that's what you so choose to have. But he just took a different route to get there. Y'all get to the same finish line, just took a different route. Doesn't mean like that person is gay or that person doesn't want kids or the case may be, or whatever society is conforming to or wants you to conform to. It just means that everybody in due time. Everybody's in due time.
I kept thinking, he keeps referring back to shaming tactics, men being shamed for certain things. I do still think, however, there's certain things that people of society should be shamed for, right? You should be shamed for pedophilia.
Oh, for sure.
You should be shamed for killing people, right? You should be shamed, right? So there's still ranges of things that we should shame and, in fact, make some things illegal to make sure that things are not done, right? Just to help people conform to certain ideas that morally push us back as a culture. But he's not referring to those things. I want to make that abundantly clear as well. But this shaming, I've experienced. I went over an example in the beginning. It's you don't have a family yet, you don't have a kid yet, you don't have this, you don't have that. But then as I think through what those answers to those questions are, I also think about, but what is really my goal in life? What is really my path in life?
Yeah.
And how can I make sure that I'm on a one-way ticket towards eternal happiness?
Yep.
And the thing is like, my eternal happiness, you gotta understand, like, eternal means eternal. And eternal for me is as long as I'm alive. I'm 34 years old right now. God willing, I got another 50, 60 years left on this planet, right? So, like, that's not necessarily something that, like, I have to get done in my 20s. And in fact, as long as Viagra is still a thing, if I ever need it in the future,
You mean those blue pills you got in your room?
Oh, please. No.
Hey. No, but that's shaming. I've never been the person that actually, I guess, gave a damn about what others think is for me. I always march to my own drum. I guess in the back of my mind, sometimes there's always that feeling of like, shit, maybe I should be thinking of things this way because I've heard it, or there's some type of programming mechanism in my mind that's kind of like wants to conform to what society says is correct. But then after maybe a day or so, I'm like over it right now. What God has for me is for me. My plan is my plan. My goals are my goals, and I'm not saying that I'm not taking anything out of a step that's supposed to be taken, whatever that cycle looks like. It's just I'm taking a day at a time. I'm not going there looking for something, but if it comes to me in time, then hey, I'm gonna go with it.
There it is. I think it's a healthy way to live, bro. All right, we got 2 more minutes left.
It is the group speaking through the mouth of the individual, not the individual speaking to the group. Without their conformed nature, they would have no insults to throw. The insults they use are the ones that are reinforced through their unity with the established script. They can challenge your sexuality because theirs is perceived to be established within the operating paradigm. Their masculinity is defined by others, so they don't need to define it themselves. When they challenge yours, they see that as a slight, whereas you should see it as a blessing. Being able to define your own masculinity enables you to function freely and without input from those who are not masculine. Challenges to your character follow the same model because their character is tied to the group collective. The shaming language used against your sanity are amusing because creating your own script and leaving the group behind takes a powerful mind that also enjoys risk, which would be perceived as unstable to the cowards that toe the line. Creating a new script is the most exciting part that MTAL offers. It takes time to deprogram and start thinking for yourself. We've been trained to take everyone else's needs and desires into consideration that it becomes an effort to put ourselves first. Once you overcome that and start to see the potential that is now in front of you, you start to get over that depression and start to get hopeful and inspired at what you can now accomplish. The new script that you make for yourself is completely personalized and is exactly what you want it to be. The script will constantly change as you revise it and edit things in or out. Learn how to cook, learn a new language, learn to fly something or sail, take up a new sport or a new instrument. These things may not hold your interest, and that's okay because you can edit them out of your script and add something new. I'm taking an online drawing class because I've always wanted to be able to do something more than stick figures. When I finish with it, I can decide if I want to keep going with it or drop it and add something else. My script is flexible because it is my script. It is not beholden to any other person or party. Sharing your script with other liberated men is a fun thing to do. Anyone on the plantation following the old script has no uniqueness to offer. They all say the same things about the same types of women, complain about the same lack of free time or difficulties in pleasing their overlords, whereas MGTOW men can talk about the new bike they bought or the trip they just went on or the new hobby they started. Removing the dominant and identical variables from your script, the ones that enslaved you, allows all those other smaller variables to rise to the top and shine.
Yo, the rhetoric here, I think it's interesting that you brought the plantation, slaves. You know,
Overseer.
So again, the overseer, the rhetoric here is very important because I'm going to go back to what this is. MGTOW, men go their own way. I'll never be MGTOW. I understand a lot of the things that he's saying, but I think that men going their own, so like a lot of things that he was saying, you can do all of that, but still have a call log of beautiful women, in my opinion. You don't need to ignore them in order to still take an online drawing class. You know, it makes me think, like, I wonder kind of how was this man's life when he was with women? Like, was he at their every women beck and call? Because I don't think you should ever be doing that. I think you should always be focused on yourself, no matter what. Even if you're in a relationship or even if you're married, there has to be a lot of degree of focusing on yourself. Or maybe I'm thinking too abstract about it.
I didn't hear him mention like the absence of women. I think he just, what I heard him say was men are gonna, like the MGTOW theory, men will follow their own path, but it's not based off of that, of what women want them to do, like or society. Meaning you gotta have a woman by your side to follow that path. Like, no, I'm gonna march to my own drum, but I can also have a woman on the side doing my own thing.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you, and I think he didn't say that in the video, but in my understanding of what MGTOW is, it's those who no longer want to conform to the portions of society where females exist.
Damn.
So that yeah. Well, think about his name too. It's called the Humble Hermit. I mean, he's a humble hermit. So you know, I mean, it is what it is. But I wanted to say that too, and also in the sense that like I could tell the MGTOW dudes that follow this channel, and usually they don't follow this channel because I often interview other women as well as to, you know, red pill content, MGTOW stuff, just to see kind of how they think about this stuff. Because I do think that for those of us that are still in the game and still want to pursue it forward, there's benefit in understanding how they feel about this knowledge and information in a way that can help push the ideas forward. Because I think it still comes down to an education thing. Yeah. Just the same thing as you might have experienced, took the red pill and now I understand that this is a script. A lot of them as well don't get the script and the bullshit that they're living in. They don't get it. They just benefit from it.
Is there a female version of MGTOW?
Absolutely.
Because I see women doing this a lot. Like our generation of women, like those
men are
millennials.
dogs.
Well, it's not even. It's like they don't want to lose their place in corporate America. So they're not looking. They're trying to get to a place where they're at a level where if I go out on maternity leave or do X, Y, and Z, I'm not losing my spot in line for promotion or this management job or this director level job. I'm trying to get that and then focus on family. So they play the game way better than guys do. This MTandR woman version has to be like
women going their own way?
Yeah, women going their own way, exactly.
Well, I think a lot of that women going their own way is a sign of the time. But you think of like feminism movement, you know.
Feminism, what
Too.
was the whole Destiny Child, what that album they Survivor.
I Need a Soldier, or I'm a Survivor.
Yeah, all that shit, like the independent women. Everyone's looking for independent women movement, like, you know, now women don't want you to open the doors anymore, you know.
But you know what's happening though, right, and you open the door, that's a microaggression.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But that's in line with the feminism movement stuff. But you know, what I think has happened is there's something that he referred to it in there is, and I'm paraphrasing, but like eventually they'll want to have a family.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So, but if they focus so much on that independent stuff,
yeah.
And I mean, you gotta think about it. Like a young woman who is not about that whole independent stuff and is looking for a dude is probably gonna be looking for a leader, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, the older that you are, as long as you're taking care of yourself, the more leader that you are prepared to be.
But then there's a catch to that, right? Because, you know, you have men that want women who are leaders. They don't want that woman who's just a stay-at-home mom. They want them to be driven. They want them to have purpose. They want them to be a breadwinner as well.
But they also, I agree with you, because I want that too.
Yeah.
And maybe not necessarily, they don't have to win all types of bread, but, you know, they just have to have ambition and goals.
Exactly.
But you also don't want to compete on masculinity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And that's where it comes to
exactly.
a problem, right? Because, you know, I think some of the ideas of feminism that has been shown to people that look like us, you know, they have picked and chose different aspects out of that benefits them in the short term, but in the long term does not.
Yeah, women who think like they have the alpha mentality, they can't have a guy who's alpha like her. It won't work. As a matter of fact, I know this girl. I think she dates this guy now. He's like really passive. Like she like can boss him around. She'll never like someone like me and her never work because that's just not gonna happen. But like with that guy, it works for her, and that's great. She knows what works for her and how she needs to move forward, and everybody needs to figure that out. So they're not sitting there having a gauntlet match every time they get into argument, or they're in the house and next thing you know, like silverware is flying or plates are breaking, or what case may be, and guns are pulled out, whatever the case may
knives.
Be. Right. Police is called.
Well, good, man. All right, well, listen, we coming right up to the 30-minute mark. I think you did extraordinarily well for hearing this information for the first time, bro.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Listen,
I'll do my best.
Are you going to become MTandR now?
Nah, you know, I'm going to just be Cashapp, bro. That's what I can be, you know. That's all I can be, you know.
I feel you, bro. All right, well, appreciate you, man, for coming through it.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, man. Listen, questions, comments, concerns, what other videos should we be talking about? Leave them down in the comment box down below. Until next time, YouTube.